Hello, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. So, today we are getting into the word of the Lord as well as giving you some relatable examples when it comes to what we've titled this message today, living out respect in a disrespectful world. And for some of you all, we will be focusing on family related types of events and individuals who attend these events, being able to pick up on the body language. Yes, there is body language involved when it comes to someone being disrespectful and abusive. We're also going to give you some tips in terms of how you can be able to address a person who's being disrespectful. And then, of course, as we encourage all the time to just draw near to the one true God, because He does know that man, woman, they better than we do. And so we don't want to get ourselves mixed up in a situation that's going to bring more heartache, more dramas and traumas upon us. But I always encourage that when a person has shown you who they really are, believe it, but not only believe it, but don't be around that person as much as possible. Even if you live with them, there's ways to simply not deal with that person. You don't have to go to the store with them. You don't have to be in the same room watching television. You can be busy doing so many different things within the house. You could be outside taking care of the landscaping or cleaning up the garage or the attic or the basement. Or if you're in an apartment, you can be cleaning that apartment top to bottom and then proceeding to go out where there are some common areas to read a book or look at your phone. You can walk the neighborhood. You can go and visit neighbors, or you can visit your family, or you can take up more hours at the workplace. You can even look for a job that you don't have to be there when that person is there because of your job and the hours that you need to be at the new job. You see, so many clever ways to be able to stay away from some folk until you get enough money, or until you're old enough, or until you've got enough enough of a plan established so that you can be able to get away. Because one thing we don't do on this channel is encourage people, and I don't care how many years you've been married and all of what this person has done in the past for you or what they're even doing now. When they're disrespectful and abusive, we encourage people to leave situations. Okay, old school would have told you, and when I talk about old school, I'm talking about people who have been used, abused, traumatized, and they're making excuses and they're delusional. They would say, well, you know, the man is doing all these things for you. You should just stay. Oh, well, you see, don't you love her? I'm sure she loves you, and that was just a bad day that she had. And so just hang in there. And you've hung in there, and you've hung in there, and you're tired of hanging in there, okay? And when you're a child, there's all sorts of support systems that are out there that will make it very difficult for that person, if you open up your mouth, to do those things again. You see, because a lot of times children have already been used and abused, and so by the time that they go and they talk to someone about it, in some cases it's been years. So the opportunity to get out is also available if that child can run, walk, pick up a phone, goes to school. And of course, the enemy of that child doesn't want to hear us encourage that child to get any type of help, resources, or anything else, because see, that there's a secret, there's a lie, there's things that the abuser and the user doesn't want people to know about. But my God, once again, does not encourage us to stay in, and it doesn't matter your age, to stay in situations where people are being disrespectful and abusive. And you can blame it on the alcohol. You can blame it on the drugs. You can blame it on, oh, I've worked a lot. I'm so tired. You can blame a whole lot on a whole lot of things. But when this type of behavior just keeps happening, and oh, there's a little space where now I'm gonna buy somebody a bunch of things and hopefully they'll forgive and forget, and then here we go again with more disrespect and more abuse. But it's okay, it's all right. And this is the sort of thing that old school was doing. They were doing this. They were finding all sorts of ways to keep us from going and telling mommies and daddies and grandmamas and, cousins and aunts and sisters and brothers about the things that we had experienced. So shower, 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 all the praise, the monies, the opportunity. I don't even know what all she knows. So somebody suddenly out the clear blue is buying you a gift because they don't know if the cousins have gotten together and chatted about some things. So here comes the hush money. Here comes the gifts. Oh, I'll take care of you. I'll do this. And then after a while, we're just like, enough is enough. Enough is enough. This abuser, this user has gotten away with far too many things. And so let's first of all, especially if you're new to a family, and I don't care how old you are, 20, 30, 40, 50 plus years, you need a little refresher, if you will, on studying some individuals, okay? We've got to study. It's not just about looking at our word, okay, or fellowshipping with the local group about God's word, but it's also about practical, sometimes not so common sense, but we've got to be mindful of the behaviors. You may be the mother paying attention to your daughter when she comes over and she tells you, oh, we have a great relationship, everything is good, because I told that lie many years ago. I did. I'm going over to the house during these family holiday events, and people are asking you, how are you doing? How so and so? And you're saying everything is good, everything's fine. And I remember one time I said that, and I forgot about the scratches that was on my neck. Because the night before, I had fought with this person because he had this habit of squeezing your neck because he wants you to shut up because, of course, you're emotional, right? So you're raising your voice. And so I'm raising my voice and he wants me to shut up, and I'm just, at that point, I'm enraged and I'm just not shutting up. And so his idea of getting me to be quiet was to squeeze my neck. And if he hadn't cut his nails, it would leave scratches. So my mother asked me how everything was at this this wasn't a family holiday event, this particular moment. This was one of those just stopping by saying hi. And she looks at my neck, and what I'm saying is not aligning with what's on my neck. Okay? That's tough for a mother to see. When I looked back on the things that she had to be quiet about for a time because she didn't know how bad it was for me, and she knew that I was going to go out the house with him, she couldn't afford to be that one to confront in that very moment. I know some people would say, oh, well, I would have done this and that. But if the daughter or the son is leaving out with the abuser and you make a ruckus about what's going on, and that person still wants to get in the car or the van or the SUV or whatever with that person, you may not see that child come back home. So in situations like this, you got to be so careful, and she was careful. She knew that it's not good what's going on. And so in verbally out loud, yes, there's a lie being told. But my body language, I moved in such a way to let her know this is, a lie. You're right. And so it was one of those, I said something that was a lie, but wink, wink, and, moving a head or an arm just to let her know, like, I'm sorry, but I'm in a tough spot right now. And she didn't make a sound after that. But the anger that was in her face, she knew that she had to get God in on that one. I mean, a tough spot for a parent to be in. And the fact that I am alive to this day says that a mother's prayers still work, my God. And I know some of you parents are seeing abuses happening. And you're not in a position right now to say too much of anything until you can get evidence and proof. And so my heart goes out to you, and I ask that the Lord give you the courage and the strength and the wisdom, the guidance, and that the angels of protection be encamped all around your sons and daughters. So it's very important for me to get this message out because I feel so many different things concerning my networks, not just here on YouTube, but Twitter or AKA X, and so many other websites, blogs, and books that I've written. This is always a tough time during this season because of domestic violence awareness, and you just know people are still going through like this, All right. So, disrespectful or abusive, we want to pay attention. And the strategy, hopefully, is to prevent escalation or manipulation. So we're being very mindful, very careful. And if we don't know necessarily how to deal with situations, then National Domestic Violence Hotline will help you out with that. So, first thing we want to pay attention to is eye contact. I gave my mother certain eye contact to let her know, like, don't say nothing, please, please, please. Yes, I am being a bit deceptive right now, but I have to, okay? Because I wasn't ready to leave. Eye contact. So you're paying attention also to the abuser's eye contact as well. When you ask that person a question, okay, whatever that question might be, they are going to avoid eye contact, and they're also going to display their share of deceit as well as manipulation, and there is a lack of respect there, you see. So you feel like, wow, this person, every time when I talk to him, he's never given me any type of eye contact. What's up with that? He has something to hide. The staring or intimidating type of look, right? That gaze that some individuals will do. Sometimes the intensity of those stares is about dominating you, controlling you. You may have done this with your children when they were little, right? You gave them that look because you're out in the public and you want them to straighten up. Okay. But just imagine if you're in a relationship where that partner is treating you like you're a child and they're staring at you every time you move right, every time you move left, and it's an evil look. And you know it. And it makes you feel uncomfortable, and you look around to see if other people see that person giving you that intimidating look. Okay? And it does make you feel small. It makes you feel inferior. There's another thing that a abuser will do. And let's say that you're the parent observing your daughter, like my mother, watching some things unfold here. The tone of voice. It's not always about the yelling and the screaming and all that goes on with some of these abusers. Sometimes it's just that low, condescending or belittling type of voice that they use, and it's like, oh, did I just hear some sarcasm? Well, that's just how he jokes. I don't like that, you see. And she may pay the price because the parent or the grandparent or someone in the family picked up on what her abuser is saying and doing, and so now he's all in his feelings, and on the drive home he wants to cuss her out, talking about, this is why I don't like being around your people, they always got something to say. And then you don't even say anything. You just stand there and you just look at them. You see, that is not a healthy, functional relationship. Okay. And maybe some of you all have been at this thing for 10, 20, 30 some years. Once again, you can't pass that off as functional and healthy. Okay. So the key here is that if he's going in on you about every time we get around the family, at some point, what does he want you to do? Just using he as an example, but it could be a woman too. If you answered, he wants you to stop coming around your family. Exactly. He wants to stop coming around the family as well, because he sees that the family knows who he really is. He's not the charming, charismatic, loving, kind, wonderful person that he wants everyone to believe that he is. Okay. And you showing up and being sad and solemn, and at times maybe even saying some things that he doesn't want you to say to your family, makes matters worse. All the more reason why you should get rid of them. Drop that zero, we used to say, and get with a hero, except not another man. No, get with the one true God. Another thing that some of these individuals will do who are abusers is they'll do a lot of interrupting. I mean, I know the occasional interrupting. I do the occasional interrupting when I'm talking to a relative, because now that I'm getting older, I tend to forget some things. So it's like, excuse me, I'm not being disrespectful right now. I just need to, squeeze this in before I forget. And they get me. They understand, because they do the same thing. So we have these conversations where interruption, hey, it's natural, it's healthy, it's good. But that talking over, and you clearly hear that I'm trying to talk to you, and you still keep talking completely over me, that means that you're not valuing what I'm adding to the conversation. Okay. Now, if you see that, right, with those that you're close to, you love on them, okay, then you need to see that too at the workplace. You need to see that when you're dealing with extended relatives. There's something going on here. First, it was the eye contact. And I mean, you need to pay attention to these things and just keep a tally of the different things that you're seeing, because this is how you know someone is in a situation that maybe they're having trouble getting out of. Maybe they do want to get out of it, but they don't quite know how to go about doing it. I'm looking at the eye contact. I don't like the fact that her head is down. She's looking all around, and he is avoiding eye contact when I ask direct questions. And then there's this weird stare every now and again that he gives her, but it's not a loving, kind, wonderful, respectful sort of look. And then not only that, when I'm in this conversation with him, he wants to interrupt me, talk all over my conversation. He's mocking her, being a bit sarcastic. This dude has problems. Okay, so that's just the first 2 points. Oh, but we got some more stuff to look out for. Okay, we're looking at the demeanor, the behaviors when it comes to the body language. Why does he have to stand so close to her? He's got his arm wrapped around her. He's got to constantly touch her. Oh, well, and we always dismiss this as, well, he's just really affectionate. And this one over here, well, he just loves on her. And we found out that no, what all that was about was, it was his way. And sometimes that whispering in the ear wasn't sweet nothings. It was, you better watch what you say. Okay, baby, love you. Yeah, and you could literally, and I want you to envision this, okay? Because these family holiday events are coming up, and you want to be mindful of who is there, because some individuals, they are the ones that start up the fighting, don't they? They're the ones that might have something in the trunk of the car. Okay, they might be the ones that end up taking that loved one out the house, and we never see that loved one again. And so all of this, take it with a grain of salt. No, we're not. No, we're not. I feel so pressed to have to get this message out today, more so than any other messages, because I know people are in this. And this might be the last time that some of you all gather. But this invading this loved one's personal space, and you got to stand that close, and you got to follow her wherever she goes. And we had relatives that like to be in the bathroom together. Like, okay, what is going on? And there's a conversation that's going on about how you better be when we go back out this bathroom. Or there's a conversation going on about you keep quiet about this and that, right? Those lies that I talked about in another audio. Okay? Jesus. But the physical presence, right? It's all about dominating. It's about intimidation. And so the body language I'm looking at, if he is talking to her, and then he proceeds to talk to the family members. But the family members, they may say something he don't particularly care for. Here we go. There's the crossing of the arms. He's going to turn away. He's going to excuse himself. Yeah, the truth hurts, doesn't it? And those are the audio messages too, just so you know. The truth hurts, and I've got about 3 of those. But his body language is letting somebody know, listen, I'm not interested in what you have to say. I know you love your daughter, whatever. Yeah, until something bad happens, and we'll see, whatever. See, he doesn't have to say whatever to know that the way his body language is signaling that he doesn't care about what's coming out your mouth. He's disinterested. And so he's emotionally distanced himself from all that is going on. Maybe there is no conversation about the loved one. It's just general conversation going on, right? It's about the news. It's about politics. It's about, what's going on at the workplace or at the church or at the civic group or what, someone saw here, there, and everywhere. Okay. But he's really not engaged. He's crossing his arms because he doesn't want to be there, but he knows he has to be there because she wants him there, and well, it'll be a good look, and I don't want my family to suspect anything. Okay? I'm telling you, I have some experience in this sort of thing. And after, those dating experiences and all of that, got married, dealt with in-laws, right? I saw body language. When they're interested in you, they are, oh, how you doing? And there's, a gentle touch on the arm, and they're asking you questions and everything else. But when they're not interested in you, it's a little smile, a little meet and greet, and then you don't talk to that person barely the rest of the event, okay? Because they're not interested in you. You're not the favorite. You're not the other one that used to be that one's. Okay, some of you all know all too well what I'm talking about. If you're confused, I'm sorry. But yeah, there's this distance that takes place with some of these relatives that you clearly know that he's brought a lot of females around, or she's brought a lot of guys around. This is John, and then before that she was in love with Bobby, and then there was Ricky and Mike, and oh, wow. So the next point, the touch. When someone is abusive and being disrespectful, they're going to be aggressive. So not only are they close sometimes to the victim, but they're also doing things like grabbing an arm, right? This is a photo moment. Come on, baby. Come on. Hurry up. Hurry up. No, I'm trying to take care of this. Get over here. Oh, did he just, you see? So the grabbing the arm, the pushing, moving away, all of this unwanted type of touch. Sometimes there's the welcoming touch, at least that's what you think, until you see that she's got both her arms closed in on both her sides, right? It's like she's holding her arms very tight to her body. Okay, even though she's not pushing away, we can clearly see that she doesn't want him putting his arm around her. Why? Because how many others have put their arms around her the night before? Ooh. You see, there was a lot of writing on the wall back in the 90s when I think back, and some of the females that I was around, they were exhibiting the type of lack of affection and not wanting to be touched. And we kind of pass that off as, well, she's just an introvert or what have you. She wasn't always that way. You've got to always look at how the person was. Compare that before she met that person versus, who she is now. A little comparison, I should say. So she's uncomfortable. It's obvious. The abuser, he's being a bit overbearing. He's exerting power and control over her physically. And sometimes there are those other things that really irk me. And I remember there was an individual that did this, but we didn't date long enough for it to turn into anything abusive whatsoever. But this light patting that goes on, patting you on the head or patting you on the back, it's not in a way that shows that that person is being affectionate, but more like you're an animal or something. It's something that those of you all who have been victims, you know what I'm talking about. This little pat thing, or you may have been victimized and you do this sort of thing, because somebody pointed that out about me years ago. I proceeded to hug people, and when I hugged them, I patted them lightly, and I did not want my front part of my body to touch theirs. So it was awkward, I know, but I kind of just moved my front part of my body away from that individual, or individuals, I should say, because I did it to multiple people, and then I just patted their back lightly, like you would burping a baby, except not as hard, of course. But yeah, you see, the shoulder squeezes and stuff that we received, and then later on as children, and then later on we found out how abusive these men were. I wrote Socially Sweet, Privately Cruel, Abusive Men, and it is just what it is. They are very sweet among the family members and friends, but there's other behavior that, if you're very discerning, very observant, you can see where, oh wow, this man is one of those guys, or that woman, yeah, exactly. So there is this dominance, once again, that takes place even in these touches. Another point I want to bring up is these facial expressions. I did give my mother a series of facial expressions to let her know, yeah, what's coming out my mouth is not necessarily the truth. I hate to do this to you, but it is what it is. I've got to do this because of the man who is literally, just a few feet away from me. And my intention is to leave out with this man. That's how, dare we say it, the mind was just twisted because of all of the abuses that had taken place. And so you end up going right back to the abuser, even though you know that it's not a good idea until you finally muster up the strength to do it. So these facial expressions were going on, and if there was something that was talked about that wasn't in the greatest light concerning me, maybe it's something that a parent talks about that really got on their last nerve about you, or something that you did that was embarrassing or shameful or whatever as a child, and you share it with the abuser, there's this smirking and sneering that goes on with some of them. Like, they really like to get that type of information, because when they're angry, they wash your face with it later on. Yeah, remember what your mother said? Yeah, and see, that's why I didn't want her to say that. But okay, yeah, you wasn't always pretty, huh? You see, this type of thing. Just giving examples, but I'm sure many of you all have your share of examples, and you can just leave some comments if you're hearing some things that I'm saying and you experience something and you want to help someone else. The comments are there, absolutely. This lack of empathy, right? You fall down, or they hear that you lost your job. In one situation, someone that I can't get into too much detail, but basically this individual, when I lost my job, first I could have sworn I saw like a little smirk, and then there was this look of concern. And I was like, what? A lot of times, though, and there was another person, this was consistent. Every time I had something negative to talk about, there was always this little smirk that would come. And then it was like that person realized, oh, I better put on this act real quick and act like I'm concerned, right? And I'm saying to myself, like, you're reveling in the negative news. Wow. And anything that was positive and good. And that's why sometimes I think I really just got super excited about some of the positive things, is because I knew that that person secretly did not like me winning, didn't like me being victorious. And so I was like, interesting. So I paid close attention, put it in that part of my mind that stores some information, so that I knew that I was careful in talking to this person and dealing with them. So there is this lack of empathy that creeps up on some individuals, and they are amused by your discomfort and when you're in disagreement with other people. And sometimes they're so observant of what's going on that when they should be defending you, they claim they love you, right? They don't. Now, on the other spectrum of these facial expressions, you go from the little smirking and sneering and whatever else that goes on with some of these individuals. On the other side is this anger that comes out of nowhere, and they've got this scowl that's on their face. I saw a lot of the men growing up with that anger and with that scowling. It's just, how in the world do you go from laughing with the gentleman, having a good old time, that when a woman comes along and asks you to do something, now you're like, you can do that, what's wrong with you? Type of stuff, okay? And you can see that this emotional up and down roller coaster that was going on with them, it was clear that something mentally was weird about them as well, okay? Undiagnosed, unchecked psychological issues, okay? Everything from what we've talked about on this channel, narcissism, to bipolar behaviors, okay? And this also leads into microaggressions. And just so you know, those individuals too, with all these facial expressions that go on that really rub you the wrong way, they're filled with resentment. Okay, while they want to accuse other people of unforgiveness and being resentful and being narcissists. And this is another thing lately too that I've been hearing a lot of, is that now that there's so much conversation about narcissism, the narcissist is taking what they learned and now they're calling other people narcissists. Classic, right? Anyway, we've got these microaggressions that show up. Okay, I took this course years back that was on LinkedIn about microaggressions, and I found it was common at the workplace. But of course, family members do this sort of thing too, because hey, they're in those workplaces, especially when they are the minority. So they learn a lot of the microaggression from the majority that treat them a certain way. So there's these insulting comments that go on, and they say that they're just joking, some of these abusive individuals, okay? But the key here is that they don't want you to be confident. So your confidence erodes over time. The other thing too is that there was this passive aggressive type of behavior too that was going on in these remarks that these abusers would make. It was common. It was so common in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I mean, I was just like, wow. I, I, I felt like, why were these women still around these men? I mean, and some individuals, it was so bad that they decided that, you know what, I swear off men. And they never looked back, and they ended up being involved with the same sex. And that's why to this day, I'm not sitting up there getting on people and like that, taking a Bible and basically beating them over the head about their decisions when it comes to a partner, because you don't know where they've been and why they seek comfort in these individuals, okay, that we don't necessarily, are all supportive of, but you tend to go, well, if she jumped from this man who was beating on her to this woman who's not beating on her, I mean, and she says that she's happy, then we'll celebrate the happiness. You see what I'm saying? We'll celebrate the happiness. I mean, Jesus, I know it's complicated, but there's also a reason why many people don't read the word and don't want to go to the church either, because they know that there's lifestyles. You have to have a certain lifestyle in order to be that individual that is walking with the one true God. And when you're not ready to give up that lifestyle, whether it's a heterosexual relationship or some other relationship, then, there's certain things about the Bible and God and what have you that people are in dispute of. But I feel like this: we need to get people out of abusive situations at the end of the day. Okay. And if she is in a same-sex relationship, which we found out that a relative was, and she was being abused. Wow. So not only did she have to endure the abuse, right, of the individuals who were opposite sex, but then she gets into a relationship with a woman who was being abusive to her. And that woman who she was involved with had been abused by individuals. So, wow, complicated, isn't it? Moving on. So, we're also paying attention to this abuser ignoring or dismissing our family member, friends. Okay, what's up? What's up with all the, disrespect? What are you talking about? Well, see, every time when she talks, you act like you don't want to listen to her. You start talking over her. You don't acknowledge her concerns or anything else, right? You're just overreacting. See, now you want to start something. I knew it. You're coming over here and you're bringing your drama. See, the abuser always shuts people down with these sorts of statements because he knows that he's being disrespectful. He knows that he is not being that loving, kind, gentle, wonderful soul that some who don't spend any time with him claim that he is. And this is why I say that you're on the outside looking in. You're not there. So don't assume that somebody is nice. There is a audio on this channel that I did years ago about those individuals who will blow up someone being nice. Oh, he or she's so nice, he would never. Or I have trouble believing, I love this one, I have trouble believing that she would say that about you, or that she would want to hurt you. Jesus. And some of you all know all too well, there are those who are systematic in how they do things. So it's not about always, like I said, someone putting their hands on someone. Sometimes it is about what they're into. There's the spiritual warfare that goes on. That's why we pray. We pray and we ask that the Lord break every stronghold that the enemy launches, and that there's a boomerang effect even, and that we allow the Lord to take revenge. Oh, yeah. And we've also seen that too. Oh, so you want to put that negative energy out there, user. Okay. You want to talk about how she's dumb and stupid and how, she tends to be this way and that way. And then you're going to, work her to death and all this other stuff. Okay. Your day's coming. And for some of you all, you've been waiting for years. And I'm telling you, that you keep on waiting, because God, he's going to do just what he promised. And I stood on Psalms for many years. I stood on it. Okay. And I continue to stand on it, because the downside is that I'm in support of a victim. Absolutely. But when the victim turns into the abuser, that's where I say, nope, hands off. And some of these victims did turn into abusers. They were power and control seekers. They were manipulating and they were escalating situations, okay, by their conversation. Once again, it's not always about someone putting their hands on someone. So this leads me to the next point. They like to control conversations, okay? You're going to go over here and you're going to say this. When we go and meet with my family, you are not to discuss A, B, and C. Then we found out later that all the hush, hush, be quiet, don't say this, that when people started drinking and when others were using drugs, they started running their mouth about everything that was going on. And that is why extended relatives knew so much about the family. They were telling me things about family members that I did not know were doing some things, and they were in other states. So some of those lies and stuff that I talked about in the Truth Hurt series, that was some of the stuff that was being said. Okay. So the conversation is always about turning that conversation on to themselves. And so if you get ready, let's say that you're partnered up with an abusive person, okay? Not that you would ever do this, right? But there are those who are listening who are partnered up. And do check out my blog, Laboring to Love, and abusivemate.blogspot.com, because that blog is for those individuals who are still in it, but you are ever so hopeful and you are ever so prayerful about getting out of these abusive relationships. Totally different audience, but that audience over there, I love them with all my heart because I know that they are going to get out of their situations sooner or later. Now, let's just say that you're the one who's in this, difficult relationship, challenging, abusive, what have you, and you're having a conversation with the in-laws, and you decide that you want to say, yeah, just the other day, and then you proceed to speak your abusive partner's name out of your mouth, okay? Your abusive partner is standing there, classic, and this is so classic. They will begin to cut you off, or they're going to give you that dirty look, or they're going to draw real close to you, squeeze you, or bump you, but basically they have just monopolized the discussion, okay? Another thing that they'll do is the gaslighting. This is so common. One of my sons pointed this out with someone who was doing this. But there's the changing of events. You've got this story, let's say, same abusive partner. You've got this story that you are sharing with a family member at a family holiday event, okay? And that partner hears and then denies everything. Wait a minute, but you said, your mom and your dad. No, I don't know what you're talking about. You see, she's mistaken. I never did that. I never said that. You see. And so the plan is to, of course, get you to do what? To be quiet, okay? To not say too much of anything. Some of you all, once again, if you've been experiencing this sort of thing, by all means, leave this in the comment section and tell what you did to overcome, to get out of these situations, because I know that it's very triggering, this particular audio message. There's this doubting of your memory, right? Well, did he say that? You see, I got to remember. Oh my gosh. I really don't want to go through having to apologize, but if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, right? And then you're not wrong. Let's say that you see a photo album and you see something within the picture that goes, oh my gosh, he just told a bold-faced lie, you see. But the key is to emotionally manipulate you, because then this way you won't be telling business, right? Another power and control tactic. Inconsistency tends to happen with these abusers and users in their behavior. So after, let's say it is a long drive home and they don't really want to talk to you because you weren't supposed to say that, and then you persisted to insist that, no, honey, you said this, and I already warned you about how my people are, and you just had to go there. Okay, you're freaking idiot, you're stupid, blah, 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 okay? Now let's say you're upset, you're crying, you're another blah, 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 blah. And then you get out the car, and then there's the getting up in your face, or the yelling that goes on, and whatever else. Or in some cases, people become really, really violent. Okay, so these sorts of things happen. Now everybody moves about their day. They go to sleep. They wake up the next day. He leaves. And then by evening, the following day, I'm just going to say a new car. Okay. What? This is yours, babe. No, you really got that for you. Well, I am going to drive it sometime, but no, I got this for you. I love you. I'm so sorry. Yeah, it was just a lot. Plus I drank a little bit, I'm sorry. And then what do? Well, hey, you want to drive that car, right? You get the keys, you start that baby up. You like the purr of the engine. You think about all your friends and how they're going to see this car. And now he's such a great, wonderful, and now you're in a Facebook photo talking about how loving and wonderful your dear partner is to you. You see? That's why I don't believe every photo that goes up where somebody is bragging and boasting about, we went here on vacation and we did this. And then all the while I'm seeing the evil in somebody's eyes. I see the dark side. That abuser is standing behind that woman. And I'm saying that woman went through a whole lot. And I'm glad it wasn't me. Hallelujah. You see? Because a long time ago, we read people. We really did. And we knew that in time they were going to be the abusers and they were going to be the users. You see. And so you got people who they want to bring you into the fold, baby. And you don't even know that they're abusive. But let's just keep on with this message. The love bombing is something else. That's what that's called. All right. And so this other sign that you want to pay attention to when it comes to users is and abusers is the slamming that goes on and the throwing and the hitting. A lot of this sort of thing I did once again witness and see, and I was just very scared walking on pins and needles. A young girl and a young woman, the doors slamming, things being thrown, being hit myself. All of this was an outlet for the abuser's anger. Okay. Abusive men and women will do these things when they are angry. I can see if it's that one moment, right, where somebody goes, I can't stand this, like that, right? Okay. But every time I turn around, I'm seeing somebody that wants to hurt somebody, punch somebody, kick somebody, or they want to throw something or tear or put another hole in a wall. I remember my mother told me, she said she witnessed one household where there was just so many holes in walls. And she was like, what on earth is going on in this house? Right? Abuse, aggressive behavior. If I go over to your house and you put a picture over a wall, and I'm going to tell some folk that if you really want to know what's going on, every now and again, move a picture off a wall. Every now and again, you want to see what's really going on, lift up that carpet. And someone told me years ago that there was a relative who shot a gun in the floor. And so the carpet was there so that no one saw the hole. But they, as kids, used to look through the hole because you could see the place underneath because of that hole. Lots of strange things that people do when they get really angry about, whatever the situation might be. Some people will use an intimate act, the aggressive thrust of one's pelvis as a weapon. Okay. There are those victims who they will jump when you're close. This happened to me. When you've had repeated abuse going on, you start to get jumpy. You get nervous. When I was younger, and those who knew me back then, they knew I didn't hug. I didn't hug. I didn't want nobody grabbing me because that had already been done. That grabbing, except it was an aggressive grab, and so then you just learn not to trust people. Okay. You just learn not to trust them. So it took me a long time to hug people. The jerking that goes on with an aggressive person where they're very quick to snatch something, they move in jerky ways. They exaggerate their movements. They take up space and the arms are out wide, right? They're flinging their arms around, threatening types of movements that they do. All of that is the nonverbal aggressions that these individuals do. So that is, of course, the body language. In the next audio, we are going to get into the biblical scriptures on disrespect. Okay. So now that you have the visuals and you will see the subtle as well as the not so subtle signs that will be the red flag that yes, that loved one most likely is being abused. Okay? All right. Stay tuned for the next message.